So when people think about moving to the US, L1 visa is one of the most powerful yet underappreciated, I guess, visa category that we happen to help our clients with. So who exactly is L1 for?
L1 visas are for executives of companies, foreign companies, right? Or upper management personnel or foreign companies that want to be sent here to the United States, either to expand on an already existing subsidiary of that foreign company here in the United States, or to open up a new office here in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, most people are always familiar with E2 or EB-5s, right? But there are some obvious differences when it comes to the dynamics of L1. How does it differ from the E2 visa?
Well, first off, the timing. With the E2, you can renew it as many times as you can. With the L1, you have a cap, a certain amount of years that you can, be on the L1. And at the same time, L1 sometimes, thankfully they changed this, but in the previous administration, in Trump point one, they had some limitations for employment for the spouses, not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like things that, might change, but thankfully they haven't done it. And I don't think they will do it this time.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that you have a very much clearer path to a green card, right? We talked about that before, like the EB-1C, because it's the equivalent of an L1, but just for a residency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to prove that you've been sort of directing business here in the United States at an executive level. You have personnel that you oversee, right? And you've been expanding the business, the foreign business over here. And it's needed that the executive is here on a permanent basis in order to grow that business and, oversee all the people that you have working for you.
Hey, you want to come to the US, get the E2 visa, L1, or straight out a green card? We've been doing this for the past 10 years, and we wrote a book. It's called Own Your American Dream. What is special about this book is that we went back and have spoken to 21 successful applicants who opened up their businesses here and who are continuing to live the American dream. Hear it from them, because they talk about their fears, their mental state, what went wrong, what went right. The entire blueprint is there. You could just buy the book right here. You can just read it and make up your mind. Continue your video. What would be some of the core components of a successful L1 petition?
Well, number one, you have to have at least, a employer-employee relationship of working with that company for at least 1 year out of the last 3. Number one. Number two, you have to show that you were at an executive capacity or upper management capacity. So a lot of things that, that you're being questioned on. And for people who are not, sort of too good at doing L1s, and they get questioned on, okay, so what were you doing? How can you show me that you were actually an executive? So you do, organigrams, you do basically personnel organigrams. And then not only that, but the CVs of these people, what percentage of, time you actually spend, overseeing who and what duties were you responsible for that were tied up to the people that you were overseeing in the company back.
Is there
back
a magic number there?
Never. There's never a magic number.
There's never a magic number.
No, they never give you the exact numbers.
So what if the company is 4 people or 5 people?
Potentially, you can make that argument. Yeah, obviously, if it's more, the better, right? But you can certainly make the argument. The other thing that's really important, though, is that you have to make sure that if you're the head honcho of the company back home, then you have to prove that there's going to be someone who's capable of running the mother business, in the foreign country, right? Because if not, then it could be you can really get caught up in a trap where the officer will say, well, hold up. It seems to me like you were pretty much running the show. So if you leave to the States, who's going to be running the show back home?
Yeah.
Right. So it's important that you set yourself appropriately in order to do so. And then obviously this comes with planning and with, coming and getting advice from people who know what they're doing in order to have a perfect strategy for you to present the perfect application.
Sure. So you need to open up an entity here in the US.
Yes.
And how should that entity look like? How many employees does it have? How much money should be invested in it? Does it require to have a business plan?
Yeah. So once again, we never get numbers. We never get exact, magical numbers. This is what you need to do. When it comes to immigration, it's pretty frustrating, but obviously the craft teaches you with experience. So what you want to do is that you want to certainly have a brick and mortar place. Like you can't just be like, I'm going to be working from home. That's just not going to cut it, right? You want to have an office. it's not that you need an investment like the E2 visa where you have to have a substantial investment, but you need an investment to, hey, I'm setting up an office. There's rent, and there's computers, whatever it may be, equipment that we might need, right? Personnel, all that. So obviously there's going to be some expenses related to that, but that's not the main focus of the visa. So you have to, really be careful and make sure that you document that appropriately.
So L1 has actually two different derivatives. One is L1A, the other one's L1B.
Yeah.
What are the main differences between the two?
So L1A it's a new office. So essentially you're saying, look, I don't have a subsidiary here in the United States, but we want to open market here in the United States. So what we're going to do is that we're going to send one of our executives or upper management people over there in order to open up the office. So essentially what you do is that you're trying to tell the government, hey, give me a year, because, well, that's what they give you. They give you a year, right, to prove to you that this is going to be a successful sort of venture on the side of my company, my foreign company. So you come in here, you start, opening up your office. And then after a year, you have to basically do the process again where they sort of validate that you've done that. And then they see, okay, I see that you actually are doing well. You're employing people. And that's not sort of like the main focus of it, but that it's actually feasible, right? The plan that you have is something that is working and you're moving towards that. And then they can give you more years to continue. Whereas L1B, you already have an office in here, right? You just want to basically, it's more of like, maybe if you're a multinational, you want to transfer these executives. You see a lot of people who work in, whether it be banks or other companies in here, and they just are simply trying to move executives over here to handle the business better.
Yeah. So let's clarify this U.S. office thing a little bit. Do I have to have an office here, or just me planning to open up an office here would be enough to get the L1?
If you want to apply for an L1, you better have a brick and mortar spot.
A brick and mortar spot?
You want to have an office. You want to have an office. You want to show that you're expanding your business, and especially when you're doing the L1, for sure you have to do that, right? If it's an L1B, hopefully you have a brick and mortar. If not, at least at a minimum, show that you have plenty of employees or contractors that you deal with, right? And then that can substantiate the argument that it's necessary to have a upper management or executive come to the United States to really, hone in and expand on what you're already working on. But definitely have an office in here. Very recommended.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the trickiest things about the L1 visa is the qualifying relationship, right? So you kind of need to, explain or quantify that qualifying relationship between the two entities, the mother entity and the entity here in the US. How should the exact structure look like? Should it be a subsidiary? Should it be, a sister company? Which one should be the mother company? So for example, can I move most of my operations here to the US company, and now this is the one looking like the mother company? Would that still qualify me?
You want to have the mother one be the big one. That's the best scenario that you want to have, right? You want to basically just show that all you're trying to do is just expand your market, but in the end, the big one is the one that's financing, bankrolling this expansion, and the mother one is essentially just saying, hey, look, there's opportunity here in the States. Let's go there and open up a new one. In terms of the corporate structure, doesn't really matter so long as the mother one is the owner of whether it be a subsidiary or an affiliate, whatever it may be. But obviously, the mother one basically is the one that sets the rules and has ownership over the one that it's operating here in the United States.
How about the family members? Can the spouse work? Can children go to school?
Children can go to school. Spouses can work for L1s. So you have to just do a work authorization, which is not that big a deal. When you do so. It's not automatic, but it's going to get approved.
How about the kids that are under 21? Can they work within the business?
No, you can't work. The kids can't work. No, but obviously, once again, if you're dealing with professionals, you plan all of these things out. Right? These are the main questions that are being asked. Like, how old are your kids? Okay, my kid is 18, 19. All right, well, do you know that we have basically 2 years, right? So what's going to be the plan? How can we help you? And then obviously we propose different paths for the children in order to set them up to do so. Maybe they go to school and they start studying something that, deals with the company that you're running. And perhaps that after doing so, they go back to, their home country, they work in the company for a year or two, right? And then now they have the sort of executive level, right? Or upper management level in order to be able to be transferred over here and come in with an L1 visa.
Suppose that I have a company outside the US. I'm planning to expand into the US and planning to move here primarily. How should I structure my business today so that in the future, maybe 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, I can have a much better petition, a much better argument to get the L1?
If you, as the owner, right, if that's what you mean, and you want to come here, and in order to do so, in a very convincing manner, is that you have to have the staff and the personnel that is very convincingly able to run the mother business back at your home country, right? You have to prove that these people are able to run the business while you're outside and you come to the United States. So I think that's like the key component when it comes to that. So long as you have the people, you're able to demonstrate, that these people are prepared and ready and have been already in a capacity to run the business back home, then, I think it makes the argument a lot easier when you as the owner want to come to the States and you want to, sort of leave the mother business back.
Sure. And how long can someone stay in the US with the L1A visa?
7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
When do you renew?
You can do it after 3 years.
Every 3 years, you got to renew it. What happens after the 7th year?
You got to look for other options. You better get on a EB-1C.
Figure something out.
Yeah.
So how long does it typically take to get the L1 visa? Is it similar to E2?
If you don't go the premium processing route, it could take 5-6 months. It really depends. You know how it is with immigration. But I would say you can expect it to be at a minimum 4-5 months, right? If you go premium processing, get an answer in 15 business days, and then you got to deal with it with the embassy. It depends on the consulate, but typically they're not they don't have a bad history of long periods of times like E's, because they're a little bit more popular than the L1s.
So if it was down to E2 or L1, which one would you choose and why?
I'll go with the E2.
Why?
Well, first off, you can renew it unlimited times. So that's number one. And then number two, you have a lot more flexibility. So, your spouse automatically gets, the ability to work, work in whatever business or whatever employer they want to work with. And then you have more just flexibility overall. Like you have the ability to I think it's the time more than anything, right? So you're capped with the L1. You're not capped with the E2. And then time gives you the ability to plan better and to see other options that you can take later on down the road in order to either become a resident if you want to, or move to a different visa if that's what you choose to do.
All right. Joaquin Rosales, thank you very much.
Thank you.